Hey Chad, hey Jerry. Well, this is interesting. I've never done a video interview before, but my full name is Christopher Rod. I was born here in Orlando, Florida. I basically was raised here my entire life. I went to high school here. I grew up playing soccer my whole life at a very high level. I went to school at the University of South Florida, where I played as well. It's a Division I school. I got a degree in business management. After that, I moved home and started working. A little bit about my work experience. We have a family engineering firm, and when I came home from school, my initial plan was to work for the family business, and I did do that. And after about a year, construction got slow, and there were some other factors involved, but basically it just didn't quite work out, and this was back in '08. After that, I jumped around from several different jobs, from selling cars to the finance industry, and also coaching. Coaching soccer is really the only other thing that I've done consistently, I guess you could say, since I graduated. It's a passion of mine, along with horses. I have I guess you could say, a natural ability in terms of training, not in a conceited way, but I'm very good with people, and if I'm good at something and I know something very well, I'm good at explaining it. When it comes to horses, that behind me is Levi, and that's one of the loves of my life. I got him right when I graduated from college. I basically moved home, and as I mentioned, I grew up playing soccer, and both my brothers played soccer as well. We lived in the country, but owning horses was really not something that was, I guess you could say, in the cards. But however, from the day I can remember, from being very small, I had a passion for horses, and so finally when I moved home from school, I happened to come across an old barn and decided to lease a horse, and I leased the horse for about 4 months or so, and then I decided, you know what, there's no point leasing anymore. Horses are a passion of mine. I plan on owning them for the rest of my life, regardless of which career I decide to go with. But basically, I searched around for a while, and I ride Western. Western events, I've never really competed in them, but I would love to. And so I ended up finding Levi, and I love paints as well as palominos and buckskins. Those are my three favorites, but then again, I love all horses. And so I got him, and ever since then, I basically trained him on my own. He's a very hot horse in terms of very energetic. He's not a cold horse. He probably wasn't the best horse in terms of, considering it was my first one, but I was just so eager to get one. I just kind of jumped into it, and no regrets at all. I love him to death. And at the beginning, it was difficult. I didn't have a ton of knowledge, and as Clinton Anderson would say, because I do follow him a lot, so if I quote stuff he says, I apologize. But basically, frustration begins where knowledge ends. So in the beginning, my knowledge was low, and so the type of horse he was, I guess you could say, he's a little on the spooky side as well, and very on the go. So if I wanted to walk or trot him, he was always breaking into a canter. And at first, don't get me wrong, at first I loved to canter, I love to go fast, etc. But there gets a point where you do have to go slow, and that's not, the correct way to ride all the time. So I was introduced to Clinton Anderson. This was back in '08. I watched all his videos, I got his books, and I started training Levi using, the Clinton Anderson method. Financially, I wasn't really in a position to get professional help, but, luckily for me, I can pick up on things very quickly, and so I started to train him, and, we're several years later, and I think I can honestly say that I've gotten through all the fundamentals on him, and he does them pretty good for the most part. I wouldn't say I'm the greatest rider in the world. There's always room to improve, and that's one of the things that I look forward to if you guys allow me to come and work on your ranch. In terms of the competing aspect, I'm a competitor. I love to compete, and I don't like losing. Sometimes that's a bad thing, but there's nothing I can do about it. But cutting, I was actually on a family trip a few years back, and Chad, as I mentioned, the time I spent riding the cutting horses was up in Georgia, and it was a nice facility. They trained cutting horses, and I got to ride my first cutting horse, and ever since then, it was just been, I guess you could say kind of obsession in terms of, a certain avenue I wanted to go in riding. So, obviously he's not a cutting horse. He never was. He never will be. But he was cowy, and I was looking for that when I first got him. But anyways, basically, that's a little bit about myself. Levi behind me, I'm going to show you some just basic groundwork, like I said. I'm a firm believer in groundwork, as we talked about. I think that's huge. That's transformed him. I do a lot of desensitizing stuff with him because of his spookiness, as well as other groundwork exercises that I think have helped him a lot. And then in terms of riding, since I wasn't able to, get professional help, I would say that in terms of riding, I have a good gas pedal, as Clint would say. He's got a decent stop on him. I've got him very light and flexible, and so those are some of the things that hopefully I'll show you if he's a good boy today. I don't know.